Welcome everybody to the 90 Plus podcast where stoppage time never runs out and hot takes keep on coming. So, gentlemen, let's get it going. First topic of the day today is going to be the Club World Cup. So, to start off, what do you think the true worth of the Club World Cup is? Is it a preseason friendly? Is it a real competition? What's your take?
I do feel like it's a little bit of a real competition. Teams are coming in, they're trying their best, they're bringing in their like A1 lister players. And then it's kind of like a stage to also like promote your league, even though they might not be as popular as like any European league. And it's also like a good way to see how other teams are performing or like how to what level they perform in competitions like this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, people were talking, online saying this cup was more like a friendly, especially being the first time they have it. It's like, people aren't taking it seriously, but I feel like teams are. You've seen like PSG go all in with all their starters, Real Madrid with even their new signings, like all these teams really playing all their starting lineup. It's not like they're taking it as friendlies.
Paying extra though, just bringing their new signings to actually even play too.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. I think a lot of people are taking it serious because the previous iteration of the Club World Cup was more like a preseason friendly. It was after all the tournaments were done. The European champion was basically guaranteed a spot right in the semifinals, and then the format was a little different. So changing it up a little bit, I think, has been good. I've been a little upset though about the turnout, the way that it's been handled with everything here in the U.S., the stadiums that have been used, and with the World Cup a year away. What do you guys think about that? Like, do you guys think the U.S. is ready to host a World Cup with what the Club World Cup has shown so far?
I would say they have the capacity to host a World Cup, but it's just there's a lot of things going on around the world that's making it like difficult for people to even show up and stuff like that. Um, Also taking into consideration that there's another like national competition happening too here in the United States. So I don't know. I feel like they do have the capabilities. They have the stadiums. They have uh, essentially the systems to host events as big as a World Cup. It's just a lot of stuff is happening right now politically.
Sure.
Yeah.
David, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they do have the capabilities to host the World Cup. I mean, these games, I know some stadiums haven't been like super packed, but I feel like it's also because some of the teams are playing, and like no offense, but like to Auckland FC, they're not that big
Yeah.
of a team. They're not that well known, even they're in New Zealand. So I feel like those stadiums are going to be a lot more empty versus like in the World Cup, even like countries that aren't that big, like their fans might fly out like to see their national team. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been a little surprised, I think more than anything, by some of the stadiums they chose. I think one of the bigger issues that I saw last week was in the Atletico PSG game where they were playing at the Rose Bowl. And I think Monterrey, was it Inter?
Monterrey Inter, yeah,
Monterrey Inter
yeah.
was also at the Rose Bowl. And I saw a lot of fans complaining about how, like, it's been really hot here in the U.S. for those who are following us not from the U.S. It's been really hot here in the U.S., especially in California. And with that, like, it's got to be kind of annoying when you have world-class stadiums, like all these NFL teams playing in world-class stadiums. And we've used these stadiums before for other competitions, but then you have something that's supposed to be one of the biggest tournaments of club football going forward, and you're not using these stadiums, so it's a little weird.
Yeah.
But enough of the politics about the tournament. What do you guys think? Who's your favorite to take it? Who do you guys think has the best shot?
I mean, I have to be biased, but we got to go Real Madrid.
Um, I will have to say like the
Oh, just remember, Barca's not in the tournament,
I know.
in case you were trying.
Yeah.
Don't worry. As a Real Madrid, you should be happy for that.
Oh.
Saying I don't know. I would say like the current champions of the Champions League, PSG. Although there is a little bit hot take of how they perform against their game with the Brazilian team,
Botafogo.
Botafogo. How they perform against them. That's gonna be. There's gonna be some hot takes about that, but I still think they're still favored.
Yeah, I think PSG is coming off a great season. I think what? I would have to see the way that the bracket plays out, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's I think the four big European clubs have the best shot. So I would say Madrid, um, PSG, City, even though they haven't been as consistent, and then
Well, they'll only play one game, so we gotta see how they perform
Yeah.
in this
For
second game.
tonight, yeah.
and Bayern. I mean,
But if you were to pick one, it's PSG.
uh, yeah, I'll keep it with PSG. I think they, Champions League winners. You can never turn them down. You can never count them out. I say PSG.
Okay, but I do have a quick question. Do you feel that all these Europe teams are now? So something that I've noticed with this cup is that different leagues are actually performing really well. So do you think like it's just what is the case? Other leagues are getting better, or the Europe is getting a little bit overhyped?
I think it's a mixture of a couple of things. So I do think we got to put some respect on South American football. I think for the longest we've believed that Europe is 10 steps above, and I think this competition has partially shown that the gap is a lot closer. I do also think, and we'll talk about this a little bit the other day, they're halfway through their season. Like the Brazilian teams, the Argentine teams, like they kind of they're playing on a stride. Madrid's coming off, all the European, not just Madrid, all the European teams are coming off of like a long season. I do think they're taking a little bit more as a preseason. And I think that kind of also makes a huge difference. Well, maybe not a huge difference, but it does make a difference. With that being said, like I said, let's put some respect on South American football. I think they've come to play. They're not messing around. And I think this is what FIFA wanted. They wanted starting squads. They wanted the clubs to come in and take it seriously. And I'm happy that that's the way that it's going. I'll leave my take at that. I want to hear David's, and then I'll add a little something afterwards.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think South America has really proven that they can compete with these European teams. I think there's been a lot of games that have gone unexpectedly one way. And yeah, like you said, we got to put respect on South America.
Yeah. One of the other things that I kind of wanted to talk about was, and it has more to do with the comment about Barcelona playing. What do we think about the qualifying format, and how could we possibly improve that? My point of that, yes, there's bias. I'm a Barca fan. I do wholeheartedly believe Barca should be there. But aside, like taking that aside, the champion of Spain is not there. The champion of England is not there. Those are just the two that come on top of my head.
I think you said Italy too, no?
I think Italy. Napoli. Napoli's not there. So the champion of Italy is not there. I don't know. I think there needs to be a revision on that. Not just because, I understand. No, hold on. I understand that it's a 4-year period and you got to perform over the 4-year period. But I think there needs to be a factor in there that accounts for current success. Because if you're trying to sell it as a worldwide take on the Champions League, then you have to have the teams that are performing at that level right now. Because if you don't have the top performing teams, and I'll give you a great example. Today, the Madrid Pachuca game, I don't think anyone expected Pachuca to actually have a fighting chance. But for those who watch Liga MX, like the Mexican league, you understand that Pachuca, sure, they were good last year or whatever.
Yeah.
This year they're coming off a terrible season. And it's we need to be accounting for that. We need to have that variable. Because realistically, you're right, Barcelona didn't play, but I'm guessing you're not the only Madrid fan that's happy that Barcelona's not playing. Not just for the fact that Barcelona isn't playing. I think they pose a real threat to this competition. But what do you guys think should change, or do you guys like the format? What's your take?
I think I like it. I mean, I feel like you're definitely being biased. I think because it's hard. This was already announced a while before. No, when did the teams come out? Knowing they were going to participate
last year.
Yeah, so can't wait. What, 2 months, a month before the tournament starts to be okay, yeah, Barca won. Let's invite them because they're the current champs. This takes a lot of planning, so they gotta plan ahead. So, and I feel if you're consistent for years, that says something about how good of a team you are. Whether this year you're coming into the Club World Cup, you might not be performing or didn't perform that year, but if you consistently perform for 4 years, you're there for a reason. You're a pretty consistent team.
Okay, that's a good point, Fabio.
I don't know. I something that I do feel like it's a little bit annoying is that only international, cups are being taken into consideration. So it basically like the Champions League, the Conference League, the Europa Leagues. Those are like the big ones are being taken into consideration. But like some of these teams, and like I'm pretty sure some of you guys will agree with me, is that these teams are not just playing one cup or one league. They're playing multiple leagues and they're performing in a lot of these leagues. They're performing well. Like you have PSG. They were performing on their league, their cups. They won the treble. Like PSG is one of those teams that like they were being like games in, game out, like 2-3 games essentially a week.
Yeah.
And like they kind of had it against them because like their players were tired. The Champions League, like they were able to give their players a little bit of rest, but then other than that, they've been playing in and out. So it's kind of like unfair for teams that have been performing for like multiple different cups, they're playing in and out, and then just because they play one bad game, they're giving it as like you didn't have a good season just for one like bad game or two bad games. So that's kind of like a little bit harsh. But then if this cup is literally how well they've been performing over the 4 years, just looking at the performance for like 4 or 5 games is not fair. You got to actually see how the team is performing every week in and out, different cups. I feel like that's what makes it a little bit more fair because like you have a team like Chelsea, they perform well. They won their league. I believe they were third position in the Champions League this past actually fourth position. They were actually pretty high. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you mean before they went into the round of?
Oh, you're saying like
and they're like not the group stage anymore, but
like the first stage the league played before you go into knockout.
Oh,
I know it was Liverpool, Barca, Bayern. I don't know.
No, I mean like in the Premier League. They finished high.
I don't know. Look it up.
Look it up. Quick check. Let's see.
Like I'm
Bro got a whole computer and uses his phone to search it up.
All right, standings. Let's see. They were fourth. You are correct. I stand corrected. Let's see.
And they did win the
conference.
What's the conference?
I mean,
no, the Europa League because conference was Tottenham.
They were only...
No. Tottenham was Europa.
Yeah,
and Chelsea was Conference League.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm positive. Look it up.
No. Yeah. Tottenham was Europa because it was that terrible game.
It was them against Man U, yeah. And then it was Chelsea versus Fiorentina, I think. For conference.
That's when Cole Palmer had that game. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we've just been writing Chelsea off, but let's remember, Chelsea gets qualified for the Club World Cup not because of how they performed this season. They get qualified because they won the Champions League 2021, I believe. And then you have, obviously, you look at the case of Madrid, absolutely zero doubts. Madrid should be there. You look at City. City won the Champions League. Was it last year, correct? No, the year before that.
Sorry, who?
Manchester City.
Oh, yeah.
So you look at Champions League winners, and I have no issue with the Champions League winners. But then how you go on and choose the other teams. So, for example, Atletico Madrid is currently in this tournament because they've, over a 4-year period, outperformed Barcelona, specifically in the Champions League. But then you go and look at what that 4 years has brought. And it's been 2 La Ligas for Barca, 1 for Madrid, 1 for Atletico, 2 or 3 Copa del Rey, Super Cups and everything for Barca, none for Atletico, a couple for Madrid. So it really makes you wonder. So it's Atletico really like the second best team in Spain. And I feel like if you just look at the domestic league and the domestic cups, like you understand that's not the case. But
I don't know. I was looking that up the other day, and I think I saw something that also because Atletico's performing better in Europe too is the thing than Barca was, which played a bigger factor than like the Spanish league and the Super Cup and all that. So all I have to say is tell your team to perform more consistent, man, and stop blaming the qualifications to the Club World Cup.
You know what? I have no doubt we'll be in the next Club World Cup. I think.
I don't know. The only hot take I do have to say is that Chelsea's playing based on like how their team. They're previous Champions League and obviously currently right now. But like if you look at the Champions League team, who is still there that is currently
At Chelsea.
playing right now at Chelsea. So it's like, are you really gonna bring a team that performed 4 years ago to perform now? Like,
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think 4 years is crazy. Like, I think it should be like 2 years,
yeah,
and then,
Take the champions.
and I think like you're right. They should take into account that season that's currently going on. You know, maybe
It's
not
like-
all the way to the end, like who wins it, but like
Well,
sure, like in Barca's case.
Let's consider this. At the regular World Cup, you have World Cup qualifiers going on through 4-year period, correct? You obviously get whoever's hosting automatically gets assigned their space, and
Yeah.
then based on confederation like CONCACAF, CONMEBOL, they all have different playing, but you still have a World Cup playoff. So a couple of months is like 2-3 months before the World Cup. Actually, when they're doing the draw for the World Cup, sometimes you don't even know all the teams that are in the draw. Sometimes there's like 1 or 2 other teams that are still in the playoff, trying to figure out who's going to take that last spot. So I think maybe adding something like that, like a little mini knockoff phase of like, hey, these are the top teams. Sure, we'll take into account their FIFA coefficient, but let's also look at like current performance and like, let's say, again, just using Barca because that's the example that I'm most familiar with. But let's say we use the coefficient between Barca and Atletico. Both of like Atletico outperforms in the coefficient, yet Barca outperforms in success. Let's get the people what they want. 1-round shootout. Let's see who takes that spot.
I feel like it's different though to compare though. Thinking about that logic though, because like it, you know, we're talking about national teams versus club teams that play more frequent, and like you said, for international, if they host, they're already kind of invited to that club. I mean, to the World Cup. And I mean, if they, you know, if you took the same logic of like the playoffs for the World Cup, you know, we would have to take, I don't know, like it's not the same to compare an international teams that don't play as much, and they do those playoffs so that the better teams do go, you know, and then the Club World Cup where it's more consistent, they play more often. I don't know.
Yeah, I see that.
Because if not, we should do where they host as well, and then there'd be all these MLS teams playing.
Which, yeah, I think that's a good point. I think we could move on from this topic so far. Any dark horses, any games specifically that have stood out to you so far from the Club World Cup? Anything that you really want to bring attention to? So, David, go ahead. You look excited.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think just Brazil teams have been going crazy. I mean, that PSG game, I expected PSG to win at least like 3-0.
Yeah.
And for them to lose 1-0, it's crazy. I mean, you have who else?
Fluminense.
Fluminense?
I think
And there's another one.
Fluminense with who?
There's Fluminense, that's the
Chelsea.
green
That
with
was-
Thiago Silva that
Yeah.
plays there. And then there's another one where Jorginho plays. I think that's Flamengo.
Oh,
It's a red and black. I think that's where Vinny used to play.
yeah.
Both of them, I think they're all three of them are like top of their group.
Their
So,
group.
Brazil, like if there's, I don't know. I do think that Fluminense and Flamengo have had easier groups, but like Botafogo, like the way they performed against PSG, I could see them going to like, you know, far in this competition.
it's to the point where either PSG or Atletico are gonna be knocked out. Essentially.
Do you think you're realistically, like looking ahead, without doing too much math or whatever about the way that the ties are set up?
Mm-hmm.
But if you had to choose who do you think the 4 best teams are going to be in the semifinals? Do you see a Brazilian team in there, or
Yeah.
do you see? Oh, really interesting. So
I feel like that's kind of hard to even tell now because it's the first FIFA World Cup, so like it's the first time we're actually seeing matchups that we would never see before. And I feel like that's something that like I know a lot of people are saying like this is just gonna like preseason for like these European teams because like realistically and like this is all like everyone has this bias. If you play in Europe, you're automatically assume that your team is like the best in the world. When you compare it to other nations, the teams from other nations cannot compete against European teams, and this is one of the times we're actually seeing like this might not be true because European teams were coming in expecting that they were going to dominate every team they were going to play against. You have the Champions League winner coming to play teams that like they're playing in a country where the population is like super low. Obviously, they do bring players in from other nations, but they're not rich enough to be able to spend millions of dollars on these players.
Yeah.
These players are domestic players that have been essentially learning how to play in the country and stuff like that. You don't have top-notch coaches. You don't have top-notch like equipment to like train your body in the harshest conditions. So that's kind of something where it comes like the European teams are better because they have all this money to spend millions of dollars on like these players.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to see to the point where like a team does not need to spend that much money to build a quality team. And this is something that the European teams are finding out. Like you have PSG, the Champions League winner, technically the best team in the world for now, lose to a team per the Champions League standard, lose to a team from Brazil.
Yeah. Well, so
No.
I love the point that you make that the European teams are really finding out, and I think the world's finding out. I also just, for viewers out there, I don't want to make it seem like Brazil is like, you know, a third world country and absolutely nothing goes on there and there's no richness there or whatever. If I'm not wrong, might be the richest country in South America. I do think I get at the point that you're trying to make of like there is a huge leap from what we experience in the Americas as football. And I even think there's a huge leap from like the quality that you get in somewhere like the United States where they have top facilities, they have top things, and then you move into somewhere like Brazil where I don't think their facilities are as bad, but they don't have access to like the best stuff like they do in Europe, which I think it's the bigger point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That just brings up a lot of points too to say like there's so much to like I don't know that one game too, like every game is different in soccer, like anything can happen. So I mean that PSG Botafogo could have just been a one time, you know, they just because even Luis Enrique said that Botafogo just defended against them so well. Yeah. He was like that was the best defense we played all year. And again, it could have just been a one time, like who knows, maybe they'll play against who do they play next, Botafogo? Atletico?
Yeah, I think
right. Like who knows? What if Atletico beats them and like exactly. So I mean, it could have just been a one-time thing.
Which I do think brings another factor that I specifically told you earlier in the week, David, about the Madrid game versus Al Hilal. Like, respect to Al Hilal, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Respect to them. Played great game. Deserved the result. But I also think there's two other factors that maybe aren't talked about as much. One, I do think Madrid choked out that game with like they had the opportunity to win it in the 90th. It didn't go their way.
Yeah.
But then the other part is like when you're Madrid and you're coming into these like realistically preseason games that whether they're like the most important preseason games of their life or not, still preseason games for them, right off a very loaded season. When you're coming into that and then you're playing someone who's probably going to play like their best version because they have that respect for you. They know that you're one of the top teams. They know that like you could really perform. Mm-hmm. Like you see the mismatch that I'm seeing. Like obviously one team, I think Madrid was playing 70-80%. I don't think they were 100. Yeah, I think Al Hilal probably play like the best game that they might play for a while.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for Madrid, but that first game, I mean, you know, they're playing with what? It was like 3 new players they just signed. Yeah. Was it House and Trent? Maybe just them two.
And the striker.
But yeah, he's not a new signing, but yeah, he's not used to the club. So I mean, you know, and the new manager, like totally different. You could tell right away they're playing a whole different tactics for like the formation is the same, but you got to really watch. Like even today, they started with Arda Güler out wide, but he's running in a lot to play more center mid, and Trent's going up more. You really got to and I think you know it's these shabby tactics that before they didn't have. So it's a whole different game for them, and that's why they weren't used to that first game. But like you said, Al Hilal played really good. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, nah, like Real Madrid should definitely won that game. Like Al Hilal was playing really good
for sure.
You know, I feel like we're seeing a lot of good soccer, and like something else that you brought up is like teams are playing against tactics they haven't played before. So like they're getting shaken out like their rhythm. Like they're like, how do we defend against this? Like Atlético is one of those teams that is like really defensive. Now they're gonna play Botafogo, which is another defensive team. You're like, now then this is actually gonna depend on like the strikers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and sorry, I go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, that might be the other thing too that's affecting all these teams is that a lot of them, you know, have new players, new managers. Like Al Hilal too, they just had a new manager too.
The guy from Inside.
Yeah. So
no. Yeah.
I think a lot of these teams do have new players, new managers, so it is affecting, you know, how they're playing against, you know, these teams that have had the same players, the same coaches for a while.
Yeah. No, I think going back to the original question, like any dark horses, any specific games, anything that like kind of stood out. I do want to bring attention to the Inter Miami Porto game. aside from the fact that the Messi thing, like I'm just giving my perspective. For those who don't know, I also think Messi is the GOAT. Like for those who know soccer, but I was watching that game and I remember very specifically they go down 1-0 in like the first half and I'm like, okay, like they're not coming back against Porto. I saw them really struggle against Al Ahly. I was like, this Inter Miami side, like you have a lot of old veterans who are trying to pull the side together, and which works very well here in the MLS. And then you have Messi, who's like the greatest player of all time, and like you understand that he could pull some magic from his bag of tricks at any moment, but it still makes you wonder, like, oh, is he alone able to like make this team that competitive? And obviously, like it took a lot more than him. I think Ustadi, their goalkeeper, had a couple good saves, but
Even in the first game.
yeah. But with that being said, for me, I would say that like one of the more surprising games was that 2-1 versus Porto. Was it 2 or 3?
That's 2-1.
2, right? Yeah,
They barely won.
yeah.
They barely won.
With the free kick magic. So that was one of the games that I'm like, wow, like I was really shocked at the fact that an MLS team could really compete with basically one superstar. I mean, you could argue about Busquets, you could argue about Suarez, you could argue about Alba, and I would have listened to those arguments a couple of years back, but now it's like realistically, like they don't have as much.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think they really competed, to be honest. But you're a Messi, fan, but no, I don't think they competed that much. I think Porto was dominating that game, and they just got lucky with Miami. Got lucky, bro.
Yeah.
To be honest, that free kick was soft, man. That free kick was the foul was soft. Of course, Messi had to get a free kick from close as hell to be able to score, but.
Sure. I mean,
But I don't know. I don't see Miami doing that well. And like, I think we also have to think about the conditions here. Like, some of these teams aren't used to how hot it's been, like you said. Like, I mean, Miami, they play in Miami where it's hot as hell. Like, Porto is not used to this heat that they were playing in, and Miami plays there every Sunday.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I don't see Miami going far, and I don't think Messi is gonna do what Ronaldo did with Portugal.
I
To say the least.
That's some crazy talk right there. We could get into that another time.
I don't know. I would say there's two things. So the first thing is luck is always part of the game.
Yeah.
Like scoring a free kick is also like it's harder than a penalty. I think for him to like still be doing that at this age is just
That's the only way he'll
amazing.
score. Can't see him do anything else. He can't dribble. A volley, you mean? It was a volley, and he was in the right spot, volleyed it in. It's not.
That's a tough thing.
So don't worry. If you're
But if
saying
Messi would have screamed that, they would have been like, "Oh, best volley ever."
no, I just find it crazy that I say Messi can't dribble.
Bro, against Al Ahly, he was having a bad day, and you said this too.
Yeah, I agree.
Bro, you can look up videos,
You
and he could not dribble
You
past
could have but everyone's like, see, and this is the exact what I'm saying. Like, you could have a bad game; it doesn't make you a bad player. The same
I think he's had like a whole
that's
bad
fine.
season.
We could apply the same logic. Show me one dribble that Ronaldo had against Spain. He didn't. He wasn't. He scored a goal. He was in the correct spot at the correct time. The ball came down to him. He tapped it in. Great, whatever. Like give him credit for being where he has to be. A lot of forwards don't know where to be. Like he's great at that. But you can't come in and question Messi and be like, oh, he didn't dribble. Sure, if you against Al Ahly, if you want to make that argument, I 100% agree with you. I think he had like one of his worst games that I've seen in recent times. Against Porto, he took that ball and he was being productive. He was being creative. He was dribbling players. I just think it's like I agree. We don't have to agree on who's the GOAT or whatever.
Yeah.
But to say that Messi wasn't dribbling, I think that's that's got to be disrespectful.
I don't know
to football knowers.
Look, I think Messi was a great player, but I definitely don't think. I feel like him just going to the MLS has not helped him at all.
I agree.
You see all these videos of him getting these soft fouls, like it looks so bad. Like it's like, bro, you literally went there just to do whatever you wanted there because now the whole league they want you to be there. How else is the MLS making money besides with Messi being there?
I mean, I guess you could make the same argument for the Saudi league.
But Saudi league they buy big players and they spend a hell of money on everybody.
So here's the thing. I would say that
Neymar was there.
The catalyst for that was Ronaldo. They wanted a big star. They brought in Ronaldo. That's when they were like, we're willing to spend. We're willing to invest.
Yeah.
The same thing could be said about MLS, bro. They want to bring big names. Yeah. They wanted to bring KDB. They wanted to bring Neymar. It's just like, also the MLS doesn't have big money like Saudi Arabia to offer these big contracts to players. Like you guys were saying, like players are being offered big money that like even European teams don't want to compete with that offer. They're like, no, we could develop a player for less money, save that money for like other things.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia just has the money to spend. MLS does not.
Yeah.
And like you even see that like a lot of the MLS teams are getting mad because they can't pay the players a lot of money because of the regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So that's making them harder for them to bring young players, or even players that are still performing. They got to bring players that are like closer towards the end of their career.
Yeah.
Because they are okay with taking a pay cut. They don't need to show that they're still performing at a high level. They're okay with still playing soccer and still getting played good, even if it's not a high level. They're towards the end of their career. They don't need to like show other people that they're still performing at like their best. So that's why I do say that it's kind of hard comparing Saudi Arabia to MLS. And that
Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like, I mean, yeah, you're right. Like the money plays a big role, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's what matters, though.
Yeah.
If you think about Barca or Real Madrid, like these big clubs, like people go there because they're gonna offer you a lot of money.
I mean, yes,
you know,
no. So sometimes you do take a pay cut to go to a specific team.
Yeah.
Especially, and I think like that's the hierarchy that Barca and Madrid still have. You know, like
For sure, right? But like, if you, like, they're also gonna spend money if they have to, bro.
No, for sure.
Like on a 17-year-old, like Mastantuono, like Real Madrid spends a lot of money on him. Like for me, like I think they spend a lot of money on him.
Yeah.
And again, because they can.
Who,
Mastantuono,
yeah.
the player of the match,
From,
River Plate against
River
Monterrey.
Plate.
If you didn't,
the Argentinian.
The striker who got player of the match and a 0-0 score. Great.
he's not a striker.
He's not a striker?
No. So
What is he?
get your facts right.
What
He's
is
not
he?
a striker. He plays right wing.
Oh, I thought he was a striker.
He's attacking.
Yeah. So is Lamine Yamal, but y'all said he didn't need that many goals.
Oh,
Wait, what are you comparing it to?
Because he just said, he's like, oh, you're talking about the guy that couldn't score.
You're comparing a bottom shot with a kid from Argentina.
No. They're both 17. They're both kids.
Right. But we're
I'm
not
just saying,
comparing
no, I get you. I'm not saying that Mastantuono is better than Lamine Yamal, but you said oh, he didn't score. No, but I'm saying he said he didn't score. Lamine Yamal hasn't scored.
No, my point is, Yamal was creative when Barca needed him to be, and the games weren't ending 0-0.
I'm not saying that Lamine Yamal isn't better than him. I know. I'm telling you. I don't think Lamine Yamal. I don't think Mastantuono is better than Lamine Yamal. But you said that you doubted him because he didn't score.
Right.
But when people talk about how many goals Lamine Yamal has scored, you're like, no. Right.
I mean, here's the thing. If you're comparing someone to someone, you're saying they're at the same level. I honestly don't think that. I've heard about him, but also like Lamine Yamal, like there's times where he doesn't score, but there's times where like he does assist a lot, and also is a good team player where he's drawing a lot of defense in order to facilitate those passes.
Yeah, I think we're getting off topic though. I don't. The Club World Cup where Lamine Yamal isn't playing.
The only point that I wanted to make with Mastantuono is like I think it's crazy to bring a stat about player of the match on an attacking player when the match ended 0-0. That was it. Like individually, if whoever it is, like if a match ended 0-0, well, how actually impactful could you have been on the game if there was no scores? But regardless of that,
and how many player of the match does Lamine Yamal have for the Club World Cup?
How many does Mbappe have?
Yeah.
Oh wait, he's not playing.
And he's supposed. Yeah. It's a whole other topic for another day.
Yeah.
But anyhow, you're right. I think we're moving.
You're right.
We were. How much does Ronaldo have?
He just said that.
Oh,
Pay attention.
I didn't hear.
Pay attention.
I do think we're getting a little bit off topic, and I did want to get to another topic before we run out of time here, and that was on the Gold Cup, the other competition that Fabio kind of mentioned a little bit at the beginning that's going on here in the United States simultaneously. For those of you who don't know, who don't follow the Gold Cup, that's basically like CONCACAF or North America's version of would be like what like Euros?
The Euros?
Yeah, right. The Euros, the Copa America. We do it every 2 years. I mean, I would like to just have like a quick rundown. Who are our favorites? What do we see as? I think if we do two, it would be too little. So let's do top 4 favorites. What do we think of the game so far? As of now, there's been 2 rounds for most teams. I think round number 3 starts tonight with Mexico, Costa Rica. But from what we've seen so far, what do we think? What do we like? What do we not like?
I feel like it's just been a predictable tournament, I think the favorites are USA, Canada, Panama, and Mexico. I mean, I'm Mexican, so I'm a Mexico fan, so I have them taking it all the way. But I mean, in years past, it's usually USA, Mexico. So
No.
yeah, I feel like it's just been predictable. I will say some of these bigger teams like USA, Canada have struggled with some teams that you would not have expected it. Like Mexico, Suriname, they struggled most of the game. It wasn't until that last 20 minutes that they were able to score 2 goals. And from a defender too.
The fact that their top scorer
is a center back.
He's a center back.
Yeah.
3 goals. He's the top scorer for the team. Like,
Yeah.
especially when you're playing with 2 strikers who are both supposed to be world class, like Santi Jimenez and Raul Jimenez. But yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like once these bigger teams play against each other, it'll be more interesting. But I mean, we'll see. Because even right now, I think USA is tied with Haiti and Haiti. Oh yeah, Haiti. Sorry, totally off right there. Yeah, USA is tied right now with Haiti. So I mean, they're struggling. I do believe they might win the game, but I mean, for them to be struggling against Haiti, who I think they're coming off losing their first 2 games too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like and this is probably what gives a bad rep to like any competitions that happen here in North America is that it's usually the top 4 contenders or usually the top 2 to 3. So it's always been Mexico and United States. In a couple years, you guys will also like attest to this. There's been more teams that are performing a lot better than they used to before. Canada is one of those teams. They've been gaming like Mexico and then US around for the money. You're laughing because I'm gonna say Panama.
He's Panamanian.
Yeah, I'm Panamanian. There's nothing wrong with that. But like Panama, other than me being Panamanian, it's also the truth that Panama has been performing a lot better. And then it's not even just those 2. There's other teams that have been performing well. Like Guatemala is a team that is their first time performing in the World Cup, and they're performing well.
Not the World Cup.
I mean, not Gold Cup. My bad.
No, they played the Gold Cup before.
Oh, the first time.
Guatemala has played the Gold Cup before.
Let me see.
Look it up,
Bro, I'm willing to bet my life that Guatemala has played.
Okay, while you guys look at that, there's other teams that are like performing really well. So yeah, I do say that like for this tournament, it is probably gonna be US, Mexico. Like one of those are definitely gonna be in the final. But it's a little bit interesting that we're gonna be seeing like more teams actually perform to a higher level here, which is something I'm looking forward to. Like now we're starting to see Canada step in, Panama step in, even Jamaica. Like they haven't been performing well this tournament, but they're usually a team that performs well. Yeah. Costa Rica has actually been performing really well.
I actually looked it up.
So, yeah.
This isn't the first time they competed.
yeah.
It looks like they've won it. They even won it in 1967.
Really? I can't see the 6. Oh,
It's been a while though because Guatemala was like banned or something.
wait, that wasn't Guatemala who won in 1967. That was Honduras.
Really? Guatemala joined CONCACAF in 1961. In 1967, they again showed the progress they had made when participating by winning the Gold Cup for the only time in their history.
So what I
Feels wrong.
Those are CONCACAF
yeah.
championships and Gold Cup records. So
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
the-
So, but 1967, first place Honduras. So what I have is Guatemala as a runner-up in 1965, Honduras winning it in 67, and then it goes on and tells you. Oh,
Let's
here it
ask
is.
our. You know if Guatemala has ever won?
So they have they won the one that was
Oh.
they have different names.
Yeah.
But no, you're right though. Guatemala hasn't participated in a while because we were like banned.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I think my grandma was alive by that time. Not sure.
Yeah, I thought they had participated more recently, but
No.
regardless, yeah, I do think that they're topic in there. I do think they're playing better. All jokes aside, I do think Panama has been on the rise. I mean, they played the last Gold Cup against Mexico, right? That's the one.
I think most of the times they've made it to the finals. No, I think it was
No, that was that's the Nations League. So they played the Nations League. Yeah, they played both last finals in CONCACAF have gone down to Panama and Mexico.
Yeah.
So last one was 2-1, right? So
it was a last minute penalty.
Yeah. And then,
That's a whole nother story.
and then the one before that was where Santi Jimenez comes off the bench, shakes off a player, runs it all the way half field, scores it for
Minute 95. Good ass sub too, cause like he just had all the energy, and like Panama didn't make a lot of subs. They didn't change that back line, so they were just tired. So easy, like if you have fresh legs, that's the perfect condition to be put in. But other than that, it's been before. Yeah. Do you guys have any other takes?
No, I think I agree basically with everything that David and you were saying. I would put specific order: Mexico, the U.S., Canada third, and Panama fourth, with second to third being a lot closer than the rest. I am Mexico.
That's interesting. I mean, I put Panama like second.
You know what though? I do think a big part of it is Canada missing
Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Here's the thing. I feel like each team, they play teams that have pushed them, but not teams that is like 50-50. So it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
they haven't been put to the stand and be like, this is the game you got to
The ring
perform.
five.
So it's a little bit hard, but I will put U.S. has been looking. I mean, Mexico, they've been looking solid, even though they struggle against
Suriname.
Suriname.
Mm-hmm.
They've been looking solid. Their teamwork is looking good. U.S. They haven't been pushed hard, and like even before the Gold Cup, they were struggling. They struggled before the Gold Cup with like their friendly and stuff like that. So I would say Mexico first. Canada with that tie they're looking a little bit more iffy. So I would say second and third is either between Panama and Canada, and then USA fifth. I mean fourth, because they just like they're performing two games. They're performing well in 2 games, but like the last 5 have been, or ever since Pochettino has come up, they've struggled.
I mean, the reason why I put the U.S. So their first game was 5-0, I believe. Their second game was 3-2, 3-1, something like that.
1-0
Oh, really?
against Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. You're right. Sorry, I was thinking of something else. Based on their first game, I do think that they've struggled a little bit under Pochettino, but I think it's one of those like. I think both Mexico and the U.S. are very at fault for this. For like, they have the players, they could play good, but it usually goes down to the wire, and then eventually they like have that little extra like push to get that win. You know, we saw that with Mexico against Panama the last Gold Cup. We've seen that with the U.S. against Mexico the previous Gold Cup, and if you see just the stats, it's like constantly changing. Usually between Mexico, then the U.S., and Mexico, then the U.S. And I think in the last like 10 years. Like they both have like maybe one back-to-back like once. So based on those stats, it looks harder for Mexico to win it, but I do think that they'll struggle, but they'll get through. I would love to see a rematch with Panama in that final. I think that'd be really fun.
It could be
Aside for like our personal friendship and everything, I think.
And the things like those finals, it wasn't like just one team dominated. Like it literally came to the last minutes of the game to decide a winner. So it's like they're playing good. I would say that it is gonna be nice seeing them play again. I will enjoy it, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that could play in that finals too. So I just want to see how it develops. Yeah. Obviously, traditionally, it's always like either Mexico, US in one of those final spots. But I don't know. I would love it if it's for the first time we have 2 different teams be finalists rather than like just US.
I mean, I could see Mexico, Panama. I mean. Yeah,
I think amongst the top 4, I could see any of them realistically, because I don't think any of them is.
Yeah,
I do think Mexico has a hierarchy because this is their tournament. But at the same time, I could see any of the top 4.
Yeah, I think like Fabio
someone slips up.
Yeah, Fabio mentioned it too. Like they haven't played teams that have pushed them, so I feel like it'll be interesting once they actually have to play against each other.
So it's going to be the first one for Mexico and Costa Rica.
Yeah,
both of them have won the first 2 games. It's going to decide who's going to be at the top of the table. And then, I think this is going to be a really good game to watch because, like, both of them want to be on top of the table in order to get, the easier team of their other groups. But, like, I don't know. We're going to see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of brings a good wrap into what everything we were talking about for this first episode. We'll obviously keep you guys updated on everything that happens. More Club World Cup action in the week. I think for the next recording, it'll probably be 3rd group stages. Same for the Gold Cup. So we'll be talking about the knockout rounds. I think that'll be interesting. But for now, any final takes, gentlemen?
No. I would say let's just leave the next time.
Let's hear for the next time. Well, thank you guys for being here. Please like, follow, subscribe. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Good takes, bad takes, whatever it is. This is 90 Plus.